Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of some West Coast hippie dude sipping a latte. And it's delicious as always. And perhaps this latte allows me to, for a moment, take away some of the stresses of the day. And when I say stresses, of course, these are the same stressors we all face in our lives, and coping with them can be a difficult one. And I'm not going to unload all my stresses on you, but rather just make a few examples as to, how the things that we all go through, and we have to figure out a way to cope. Life just happens. It is what it is. And here we are. We have an amazing will to survive as humans, and rightly so. I mean, we reproduce, we continue on our species for, some reason. We create belief systems. Amidst all of this, we have a continual laundry list of problems that we face in everyday life. And how we cope with this is often you hear fight or flight, but really it's, of course, fight, flight, or freeze. And I found that I tend to freeze sometimes. And let's just back up for a moment. When I was younger, I was free-spirited enough to not give a shit about the future. And after I met my wife, she had a son, and I had to become responsible. I found myself having to rewire the way that I think about things. And somewhere in my mid-30s, I had kind of a mental, not a breakdown, but a major stressful period in my life. And this had to do with several factors. One, I was on probation. I got in trouble with some cannabis and got busted. This happened twice, actually. Once with some mushrooms. But during these experiences, I had to call in, take drug tests. And I was under a lot of just stress being in the legal system, and that definitely didn't help. But during this period, I learned a lot of management techniques, let's say. And once all that was said and done, there's always this looking to the future, like, well, once I get to this point, I'll finally be free, or I'll finally feel good, and I'll finally be happy or, stress-free. It just doesn't happen. And we find that throughout our lives, we have to deal with this onslaught of circumstances that we can't control. And even when we have a great intention set, which is where I'm at right now, I want to say I'm not in a negative mindset. I'm actually in a very positive state because, I've recently made some major efforts in my mind to change how I think about things, to change how I process and do things. Today, I've been organizing and trying to clean up my life. I've been trying to go through all my clutter, mentally and physically. But during this period, of course, as I mentioned to my my subscribers know, my wife and I both lost our moms within a month of each other, and it's been a really rough ride for us and our kids. But on top of that, I've had car problems. It's the holiday season. Haven't had any time to get gifts, or haven't used the time wisely to go out and get gifts. And I need to go to the dentist to fix my son's tooth and my crown that's falling out. And it's this just consistent list of things. And I lost my job a few months ago because my boss retired. So I have a new one starting on January 2nd, but I don't have any transportation. And so all these different things bouncing around in my head, and my wife's down at her mom's house organizing her stuff after she passed and trying to get rid of the house before it's too late. Whereas I'm dealing with my mom's stuff. I have to deal with her policies and cancel all her accounts. It's easy to just want to shut down. It's easy to just want to say, I'm done with this shit. I'm going to go live in a cabin in the woods, right? And of course, we never do. We face the shit we got to face. We get on top of the things that, we need to do. And of course, that doesn't give me an excuse to sit in here and talk on camera. And I've been making a lot less videos lately for that reason, that I can't justify the time to do it, even though I do have the time to do it. I'm so hyper focused on other things, my brain's just, constantly shifting. And that's the thing. I believe that we as humans can shift our thinking. We can change the way that we look at the world, and we can change the way that we look at ourselves. We can cope with our stressors. being between jobs and broke during the holidays, along with the car problems and the health thing, these are all things that can be dealt with, but that in the future you can look back on and kind of laugh. But the loss, the people that we've lost, these are things that, we have to process. So processing and grieving at the same time, along with, like my friend's brother who passed too, between the time our moms died, it's just been wild, crazy. And I, going down and spending some time with friends and my brother was a major release for everyone to be able to actually process some of these stressors, but they don't go away. Think of it like, it's the way I feel about taking SSRIs or something for depression, even if they do work, and I'm not a big fan of long-term use of these things, but whatever works. But the thing is, a lot of the times when we take any type of pharmaceutical, whether over the counter or self-medicating, all we do is obscure the problems. We hide the problems, and drinking is especially famous for this. And I actually quit drinking recently. I mean, I've had a couple since then, but I wasn't an alcoholic, but I drank every day. And I found myself repeating these habits thinking, okay, if I start cutting certain habits out of my life, I'll be better off. And it's not hard to do. I mean, I've quit many habits in the past. I have an addictive personality, but I'm quick to just give something up if I really want to do it. And but it's only when it becomes harmful. And often we can mitigate some of the stress by, using various substances. But ultimately, we have to deal with the problem head on. There's no way around it. And it's very difficult to show our feelings, at least for most of us. Even though we feel open and like we do share with people, we often know that some of our deepest, fears we keep hidden, locked away. And it doesn't matter if we pretend they don't exist. They're always there. And I think that being able to talk about that with people, the darkness, is crucial as well. We are emotional beings, whether we like it or not. And stress is definitely tied in with our emotions. And being in a stressful state can, among other things, producing cortisol in the bloodstream and putting us in panic mode. And we don't often realize that we're as stressed as we really are. Life kicks our ass. So we got to pat ourselves on the back for at least making the damn effort. Oh, geez. It's crazy out there. But don't be too hard on yourself. And don't bottle things up. Because even though I know I shouldn't do it, I still do it. Sometimes it's for the good of those around us. And sometimes it's just because we don't want to admit shit that we need to talk about. But ultimately, I think that most of us are armed with that ability to know when something feels right and something doesn't. And that in itself should help guide us through this crazy maze of this thing that we call existence. So, adios, my friends. Thanks for listening. I'll be doing more of my 15-minute free thinking podcasts. If you haven't heard that, check those out. In the start of the year, I'll be doing more of those. And if you want to help the channel out, you can check me out on Patreon. And I've got some other links to some unlisted videos there. And among that, I hope you all have a happy holiday. And I'll talk to you next time. Peace out.